Donald Trump just threatened the end of the world. Needless to say, this is not good. I'm just gonna read his tweet or truth or whatever. Quote, if Iran doesn't fully open without threat the Strait of Hormuz within 48 hours from this exact point in time, the United States of America will hit and obliterate their various power plants, starting with the biggest one first. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Obviously, if the US makes good on that threat and start destroying Iranian power plants, then all gloves are off. And the Iranians are going to bomb any infrastructure in the Arab Gulf states and in Israel that they can reach. This will mean no more oil, no more gas from the Middle East, and will obviously lead to a global economic depression and probably millions of people starving. Maybe even Europe and other countries joining in the war because Netanyahu and his puppet Trump have already been asking their quote-unquote allies to join in on the fight. And obviously we had the attack on the Diego Garcia base, which is probably a false flag since Iran denied that they did it. And you know how certain groups love their false flag attacks. So yeah, it seems that this is now the goal of the Zionists, to escalate as much as possible and draw the entire world in to join in on their evil, satanic, genocidal war against Iran. And all we can do is basically watch and let the show unfold. I'm sitting here in Europe, I really can't do anything. Apparently, the Americans who are sitting on their Second Amendment guns and AR-15s, they apparently can't do anything either, so I guess we'll just have to wait and see if Orange Man is going to blow up the entire world economy. But what we can do is think about what needs to be done after this is all over. We can't forget that it was the Zionists, the Christian Zionists or Jewish Zionists, who got us into the whole mess and who are now basically trying to bring about the end of the world because they think it's gonna make their weird prophecies come true and it's gonna make the Messiah show up. If you read up about it a bit, they have all these crazy prophecies about rebuilding the Third Temple, destroying the Al-Aqsa Mosque and the red heifer sacrifice, a bunch of crazy schizo stuff pretty much. The point is, these ideas are extremely dangerous, as we can plainly see right now. And I guess, worst case scenario is total escalation, use of a nuclear weapon by the US or Israel, and global World War III with millions or even billions of people dead in the end. But even if it hopefully doesn't come to that, after this is over, we need to rebuild and make sure this can never happen again. And for this, we need to dismantle the ideology of Zionism and dismantle the Zionist state in the Middle East. It would have been very nice to do it over decades with sanctions and with surgical precision, slowly tightening the pressure on Israel and dissolving the state safely without the use of nuclear weapons or without a war. But I think it's a bit too late for that, and it seems that Israel might be destroyed by Iran anyway. There's nothing we can really do about that. But even if the state of Israel is destroyed, the ideology of Zionism still exists, and a lot of Zionists are going to flee to various other countries. And they might have another go for it in a 50 or 100 years. So we need to make sure that they are stopped, and this ideology, this dangerous ideology that basically wants the end of the world, what is more evil than that? This ideology needs to be completely dismantled. I think basically we need to have a conversation about taking similar measures to those that were taken after the end of World War II, when Germany was denazified and there were the Nuremberg trials, and there was this global consensus that National Socialism could never be allowed to rise ever again. And once this is all over, whatever remains of the quote-unquote West will have to go through a process of de-Zionization. So not only will we have to lay out the ideology of Zionism, all of its problems, its problematic conclusions, all of the crimes, the horrific genocides it has led to, but not only the Zionist thought will need to be dismantled. We also need to have, obviously, trials for everyone who has served in the Israeli and probably the American military and committed war crimes. The responsible people need to be put on trial and punished for their crimes and their genocide. And all of the people in the West who obviously were not hands-on involved in any of the crimes, but who are still defending them, who are like carrying water for Zionist atrocities and for the Zionist regime. These people need to be utterly discredited and probably banned from political office to ever have any position of power ever again. Like, Trump is not the only based right-wing politician who runs on a nativist platform and then he gets into office and basically lets in more immigrants than ever and replaces his entire platform with just Israel first and doing everything that Israel wants. There's a lot of similar politicians in Europe as well, and they need to be, well, cancelled pretty much. Their support for Israel needs to be made public, and it must necessarily disqualify them from ever being involved in politics in any meaningful way again. And this needs to be a bipartisan movement that spans across ideologies. Like, it doesn't matter if you're like a left or right or whatever you think of yourself. It doesn't matter if you're like pro or against immigration. It doesn't matter if you hate or love pride parades and LGBTQ plus and whatever. I think when it comes to an ideology that literally wants the end of the world, I think that's probably an important enough cause that people with fundamentally very different ideas should be able to join together and fight this great evil together. And of course, across religions as well, like Christians, Muslims, and even anti-Zionist Jews need to come together to stop this. And yeah, I think I'm still pretty early. Like, a lot of people are still supporting Israel, still touting the same old narratives and lies. And what I'm saying will seem radical now to a lot of people. But give it a few years, once this disastrous war has run its course, or even in the middle of the war, when people realize the real effect and the real outcome of this great misadventure and crime, people need to realize what got us into this disastrous situation, and they need to draw the appropriate conclusions and act on these conclusions. I mean, a lot of people have already woken up to this reality, a lot of people have not yet, but once the dust settles, and unfortunately millions of lives will have been taken violently, after all that, we need to not only have this conversation, but we need to act with determination to make sure that this monstrous evil ideology of Zionism is completely marginalized and removed from any of the levers of power in the quote unquote West, or whatever will remain of it after this war. So yeah, that's my take on the current very dangerous situation. I'm gonna try to get this video out today, and then tomorrow I guess we'll see if Trump really decides to end the world as we know it. But I think it's important, even if you're powerless in a situation, to think about what needs to be done in the future after the events have run their course. So yeah, that's it. Thank you for listening if you made it this far. Hug your loved ones, God bless, and let's hope that behind all the narcissism and the ego and the Zionism, there's still a shred of humanity left somewhere in Donald Trump, and he doesn't go through with it. Goodbye.